Hello, everybody. So, shout out to Corinne if she watches this video. That's an inside joke. So I want to do something a little bit different. I know you guys see me do commentary on popular things that are going on the internet, but there's something that might not be super popular that I definitely want to talk about because for those of y'all who don't know, I have many, many jobs. One job that I have that is kind of a mandatory job is being the catering manager for my cousin's catering company in St. Petersburg, Florida, called Sophia Forte's Catering. I've been the catering manager for 2 years. I basically automate the systems, work with clients, make sure everything's on time, making sure everything's delivered, set up. I do all of that stuff to help her out because she does have an actual catering business. I see a lot of caterers on TikTok and they are super duper 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 annoying to me because a lot of them don't know what they're doing. They're just out here selling food out of their kitchens. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Half the time I think again it's just for content that it's not actually the joy of, making somebody's event
EU,
special. Oh,
EU,
sorry about that.
EU.
I hate that. And there's this caterer out here called Fresh Eats. If some people might be familiar with her, she's the lady with the bag on her head when she's talking about videos and pans and all this kind of stuff. Again, she just seems like somebody who's making food out of her kitchen. More power to her. We're gonna look at a couple of her videos real quick so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. But recently she did a wedding and the bride was upset. And when the bride started explaining the things about what went wrong with her wedding, me as a catering manager, I was absolutely mortified. I was like, I want to make content about this because this is one of those jobs where you have to take very, very seriously, especially when you're doing somebody's big event like their wedding. When I do weddings for Sophia Forte's Catering, I have my ducks in a row. I have my contract. I have my payments. I have the menu. My chef is calling me, asking me about the menu. Confirm, confirm, confirm. That's what she's always saying. Confirm, confirm, confirm. Double check, double the date of. I am in there with the planner, but we'll go through this girl's video. And I know people don't like when I start and stop, but this is gonna be one of those start and stop situations. So if you don't want to watch, all right. But first, let's take a look at Fresh Eats so you can kind of see the type of caterer that she is. And you guys can tell me if I'm just being bougie or if this seems a little bit off. So here is one of her, this is the newest video.
All our seafood salad pans are $200 a pan. Each pan should feed about 30 people. Text us if you want to order seafood salad. All our seafood salad pans are
First of all, you should not be doing anything by the pan and be like, it should serve 30 people. It should. The reason why I say don't do that is because you never know the amount of portions that people are gonna get. You just don't. I always do by the portion, excuse me, by the person, not the portion, by the person, so that that pan in front of her actually would need to be a pan and a smaller pan or two, that's an extra large pan, so two large pans to send it off to somebody for 220. I also don't charge $220 for a seafood platter that's supposed to feed 30 people. So let me just do some math real quick. So I want to see what that ends up being. So okay, I don't do math well, so I have to do it real quick. So she is selling a seafood salad for $7 per person. $220. And it's 30 people. That's $7 per person. How are you making a profit off of that? That you're not making the ingredients alone for a seafood salad to make it good are going to cost you at least $50 for a pan that big. So your profit margin is $100 and something dollars. That just doesn't make any sense. Like if anything, this pan that we're looking at right now should be $12 per person. And it should include real, seafood ingredients. And we'll talk about her ingredients later when we talk about the wedding video. So this is one of her videos talking about serving a pan. This is again her in her kitchen.
I just need y'all to understand that when you're booking a caterer and you're paying for food, you're not just paying for the food. You're paying for the prep time, the cook time, the cleaning time. You're paying for the food. A lot of the times y'all not even paying the inflation. Like my price has been the same for about 3 years now, almost. Y'all not even paying for inflation. Y'all seen the last inflation from 3 years ago, right, to now. I have not changed my price. So y'all not even paying for inflation right now. Y'all have to consider that when y'all are booking caterers, y'all have to put all of that into consideration because a lot of the times y'all not paying for these things, but yet people like to complain about pricing. And we try not to, at least I know I do, like I try not to be that person that's going up on my price every single 6 months, every single year, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like my customer to know what they're getting off the bat and know what I got going on here. They like, oh, I'm going to her because I know she charged X, Y, and Z. So I try not to be that person. So I need y'all to take that into consideration when y'all booking these caterers. Y'all not just paying for food, y'all. And y'all got to get that out of your mind.
The seasoning is making me so nervous and so uncomfortable.
Now, if you want to just pay for the food, cook it yourself. You do the labor. Okay? And then that way you'll be paying for food. Wait, hold on. Hello?
First of all, you have gloves on and you're touching your chest constantly and you're mixing this food, even though you're touching the seasoning can. And then you touch your nasty phone when you are cooking. That already lets me know you're not a real caterer. You're just some chick who's cooking in her kitchen. That's wild to me. I'm already grossed out. I know me when I'm working in the kitchen with my cousin, because sometimes I have to step in and help. The amount of gloves that I go through actually has her looking at me like, will you just get out? Just get out. It's not helpful, because I take off my gloves to answer my phone. I take off my gloves to fix because I wear scarves in the kitchen. I take off my gloves, and I'm always getting a new pair of gloves. And she's like, you're going through these too fast. We need this for the rest of service. So please go do front of the house and get out of my face. Her behavior and how she's cooking is crazy. Now, her talking about inflation, I know with me, I include inflation. When prices go up, I went up. We had to, because we always want to make sure that we turn a profit. It's easy for her to say this because she's cooking in her kitchen. It's probably by herself, and that's why she can say these types of things and not make it that big of a deal about inflation and people complaining about prices. I would never complain about her prices. Her prices are off, but she's also cooking out of her kitchen. She's cooking out of her kitchen. My cousin, Sophia Forte's Catering, we have two kitchens. We have our main kitchen that's in St. Petersburg, in South St. Pete, and then we have a secondary kitchen that she had completely renovated, built out. So there's two different kitchens, plus we have our food truck that we take out. We're also licensed. I really don't think this woman is licensed to be doing this. I don't think she has a FreshEatz certificate like you're supposed to have as a caterer. So she's not really a caterer. She's cooking out of her kitchen. So let me see if there's any more videos. Okay, here's her 3,500 video.
Sleep, snow, hell, it doesn't matter. One thing these pins gonna do, they gonna move. We got 25 pins or 24 pins, $3,500. This is a corporate contract here in Philadelphia. I see y'all later. Book the special. Bye.
There was no corporate person who hired her at all. Again, as a catering manager who has to walk into these places on a regular basis, that is not how I'm walking into the building. That is not how Chef Sophia walks into the building at Sophia Forte's Catering. Like, it's just not going to happen. So let's go into the story of the bride that she had. I'm just going to restart it.
Sit down, Black vendors, Black owned businesses.
Okay, so this is the bride, and she specifically got Black owned vendors.
Okay,
so let's
story
listen
time
to it.
On how the caterer fucked up the food for my wedding. Everybody that knows me knows that when I throw events, I try to exclusively use Black vendors. And so my wedding was going to be no different. I specifically hunted down Black vendors, Black owned businesses to be the vendors for my wedding. I'm in DC, my wedding was in Pennsylvania, so I had to have all of my vendors be in Pennsylvania, and I found some really amazing people to do work for me on my wedding day. For my catering, I decided to go with FreshEatz, the girl who puts the bags on her head and does her videos. She usually is talking over her pants and telling you what her current specials are. I thought the gimmick of the bag on the head was absolutely hilarious. Most people said it was hood. I'm from the hood. That's right up my alley. I thought it was super cute. I thought it was super funny. The chicken looked fried to perfection in the videos. The food looked good to me anyways. And so that is who I decided would do the catering for my wedding. And my daughter had asked me, did you read the reviews? Have you seen some of those comments? And I did read the reviews, but as somebody who works in the industry that thrives on reviews, I know that people can lie. People can lie in reviews, especially when they don't get their way. And so you have to take
Sorry, I just want to
every
stop.
review with a grain of salt, because they may be telling the truth and they may be lying. So you can't always go by what you see in a review. So I reached out to her in roughly January. I reached out in January and got the conversation started, just asked some general questions and was getting a quote for wedding catering services. I had just sent out the invitations. I had not gotten the RSVPs back. I let her know that once I had a better idea of the head count, I would reach back out to officially make an order and pay a deposit. We ended up coming back with roughly 145 RSVPs. And so, knowing that we wouldn't have that many people, I booked catering for 140 people. The special that she was running at the time of
Really quick, I'm gonna stop real quick. That doesn't make any sense. You got 145 RSVPs, but you think people are still not gonna show up, which is a little odd. I get what she's trying to say because people do have last minute things come up and they just RSVP because they're being nice. But I think it's very smart of her to say that, okay, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm always gonna order for enough people. But it's just odd. Just
my
whatever.
booking was 5 pans for $700. I did ask her professional opinion on how many pans I would need to feed 140 people, and she told me that I would need 4 pans of each dish to feed 140 people.
That is
And
correct.
so I ended up going with the whiting, the wings, the mac and cheese, the cabbage, and the yams. The special was 5 pans for $700. I paid for 4 specials, so that's 20 pans of food. I also added Hawaiian rolls, 2 pans, a pan of Caesar salad, and a pan of lobster mac and cheese, and a pan of jumbo shrimp. The lobster mac and cheese and the jumbo shrimp are not on her menu, but we did discuss it, and I asked her if that was something that she could make, and she told me that it was, and so she gave me a price for those pans and added it to my quote, and we came up with a total of $4,620. That included the 4 sets.
Okay, let me just do something real quick. So $4,600 divided by 140. $32.85 a person. And that's standard for a wedding. That's on the lower end, but that's definitely standard. So that makes sense for her food. I don't think this includes delivery, service fee and all of that, but $32.85 a person off the bat, that completely makes sense.
Of 5 for $700. It included the 4 sets of 5 for $700, the $225 for the lobster mac and cheese, the $205 for the pan of jumbo shrimp, the Hawaiian rolls. I think it was $75 a pan for those. Not sure how much the Caesar salad was, and then I paid her for service to serve the food. So that was an additional $1,020. So the total ended up being $4,620. Within 2 days of reaching out and doing all of the specifics, I paid my deposit and my date was set. The remaining balance was due 2 weeks before the event. The event was July 11th. She had her money in full 2 weeks before the event. Everything was set. We were good to go. I turned everything over to the planner. I let her know who her day of contact would be. I sent my planner the invoice, the paid receipt.
All
Let her know
standard. Yep.
this is what she's expecting, and she would just take it from there. So on the day of the wedding, the food was late. That was the first thing. The food, I think it was supposed to be there at 5. Don't quote me. It was supposed to be there at 5. It was not there at 5. She did not call us to tell us that she was running behind or anything like that. The planner had to reach out to her to learn that she was going to be late. She was running behind, something about some trees being down, some road closures because it had stormed the day before. Completely understandable. However, this is your city. We were visiting. We're from DC. The wedding was in Pennsylvania. We were visitors here. You should know how.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right here. Regardless if this caterer Fresh Eats is from the city, that's still that's I don't care. She should not be. I know she's trying, but I'm saying, let me calm down. The caterer is from the city. That should never be an excuse for her calling the trees being down. That's not an excuse. Nothing, rain, sleet, snow. It does not matter. As a catering manager, I am in contact with the wedding planner from the beginning of the day. By the beginning of the day, I mean by the time my team starts cooking, I am in contact with the event planner, wedding planner, or the best friend or the mother, whoever is going to be my point of contact. I'm in contact with them all day. her being late to the reception is wild to me. So again, in my contract, it states that all team members need to be there an hour before service. We need to have everything set up so that there's no clicking and clanking when the bride and groom are dancing or when they're giving speeches or whatever. All of my and what a lot of the times what ends up happening is that my chef, Chef Sophia, will contact me and be like, "Hey, see if we can get into the venue the night before if they're doing setup, because I want to make sure all the pans are there. Then all we have to do is put water in the chafing dishes. But I want all the fancy stuff, all the heavy plates, all the glasses, all the chafing dishes, all of our like non-perishable stuff, all the tools are already there. So we just have room in the van, delivery van, to bring the food in." So there should be some kind of it. When you're a good caterer and you know what you're doing, there's some advanced stuff you need to do. And if you are going to be late, you need to be in contact with the planner all day long. It's a wedding because you don't know if the wedding is running late. Because if the wedding is running late, I then have to go to Chef Sophia and be like, "Hey, you got to slow down. The wedding is going to be late. Don't set this, don't set it up, don't put this on ice. We don't want the ice to melt." And she goes, "Okay, cool. Let's dial this back." Or if things are running on time, she wants to be on time. We always want to make sure people are fed when they are ready to be fed. So the fact that she's late and not contacting people lets me know, one, you're not a serious caterer.
To get around your city, even in the event of a storm. You should know how to get around your city. So being late to somebody's wedding with their food is unacceptable. But hey,
Absolutely.
we're a really laid back crowd, so we weren't
No
really worried
excuse. I
about
don't care if
that.
you're
The
laid back
party
or
was
not.
already started. We were already drinking. It was no harm, no foul. The food eventually got there. When the food got there, I did see her come in. She came in. She had two people with her, a gentleman and what looked like a teenage girl. I'm guessing that we're going to be the serving team, and then they proceeded to set up the food and set up the premium setup so that the food service could begin. Once they had started setting up, I did venture over to the table. I stole a chicken wing off the table. I commented on how good the setup looked and everything. I looked at the lobster mac and cheese, and I did notice that it had maybe five, maybe six lobster tails on top of it. And I immediately knew that if those lobster tails were the meat that was in the lobster mac and cheese, that it simply would not be enough for a whole pan of lobster mac and cheese. But I digress. It's my wedding. I'm gonna have a good time. Nothing's gonna dampen my day, especially now no damn lobster mac and cheese. So we kept it going. Eventually everything was set up, and it was time for service. My planner went over there, and my planner made my plate.
Really quick, again, starting and stopping. This got a lot to talk about with this. Your guests should never see the staff walk in. The bride should never see the staff walk in. That's crazy to me. We should already be there, and my team should already be hidden in the kitchen, or there should be a back door that they are using. Even when my uncle comes and helps, my uncle, he from the hood. I love my Uncle Tommy so much. He is amazing. He helps do all like the breakdown and the garbage at the end of the day. So does my husband. And they usually are wearing their street clothes. They're not wearing the uniform like the rest of us. They're just wearing their street clothes. They have to come in through the back door of the kitchen or behind the stage or something to not be seen. You should never be traipsing through somebody's reception. Not only are you late, but you're ruining the ambiance, you're ruining pictures, you're coming through. I don't know how they were dressed. It's just inappropriate. You should not be traipsing into a venue as the bride shouldn't see you. The other thing I think is a little concerning is that the fee was $1,000 for service, and she only walked in there with two people. So you only walked in there with two people and you're calling it a premium setup. For a wedding, there is no premium setup. It's all premium setup. All of it. It all should be nice and fancy and beautiful and luxurious so that the pictures look good and that your catering tables don't stand out. And I'm hoping she didn't use aluminum pans. I'm hoping that she used the heavy silver chafing dishes, but who knows? But two people, one being an adult, one being a child, no, 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 no. Usually because we charge 25% of your total bill for your service, that comes with that comes with three paid servers and one volunteer. We have one person that does not get paid because she just wants to help her daughter out, and that's just lucky. Anyway, two people on each line to serve the food. Chef Sophia does not get paid; she's there, and then our backup sous chef, Chef Julius, is also there. And then I'm there as well. That's what you get for your wedding service at 25%, regardless. That is what you get. We look at all of the pricing. and everything that comes with and the bill, everything is worked and thought about beforehand for a wedding. That's why for weddings your food tends to be a little bit more because you're getting more. It doesn't seem like Fresh Eats bakes any of that into like food cost or service or how the food is presented. None of that. It's just I'm bringing the food, I'm gonna serve it, and it's a 25% fee. It's way more than that when you are doing weddings. I cannot tell you the amount of work that I have seen my cousin do. She has had kids in her class. I don't know if it was the kids in her class with somebody, but she wanted these beautiful stands for service for this really huge wedding that we had. And she had them made. There was beautiful stands, like they had different tiers and letters, and like she had those things made and they all had to be lit and they were all set up for the appetizer table. And then she only uses the gold serving dishes for weddings, like the chafing, like everything's like really, really shiny gold. She only uses certain plates and cups and this and that. And then it's just a lot that goes into it. And it should be in there for every wedding. It shouldn't be like premium service. It's just service for a wedding. I'm gonna go back to the video.
And she made my husband's plate, and those plates were brought to us at our head table. We sat down and we started eating. And one of the first things I know.
One more thing. The wedding planner should never be bringing the bride and groom food. I never allow that. I know that sounds really obnoxious, but Chef Sophia always brings the bride and groom, or Chef Sophia or Chef Julius always brings the bride and groom their food. It's just how it is. The wedding planner should be focused on other things, timing. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop.
Was that the jumbo shrimp, not jumbo shrimp. That was literally the first thing that I noticed. The jumbo shrimp were not jumbo shrimp. These were medium shrimp at best, and they were pre-cooked shrimp that had been thrown into a pan with a little bit of Old Bay and maybe like popped in the oven or something like that. But they were not a good quality shrimp. Weren't even close to jumbo shrimp. Like, we're from DC. We do seafood. We live on the wharf. We do seafood every weekend on a regular basis. I eat jumbo shrimp as an appetizer most times for fun. These weren't jumbo shrimp. These weren't even comparable to jumbo shrimp. And that was the first thing that I noticed. The second thing that I noticed was that there just wasn't much lobster in the lobster mac and cheese. That kind of threw me off. But again, it's my wedding. Everybody's having a good time. I'm not going to put a damper on a party because of these observations that I'm making. I'm just going to keep it pushing. I'm eating the lobster mac and cheese, and I noticed there's hair in my food. And because I was drinking, I second guessed myself. I'm like, is this hair? And I remember picking it up with the fork, and I'm like, no, this is definitely hair in my food. And so I put the fork back down, and I never touched the plate again. The plate sat on the table. I never revisited the plate. I got up, and I went and started mingling with the guests and doing all of the things. I could see the food line. I could see that everybody was in the food line.
We saw in Fresh Eats video, the woman did not have a hair in it on when she was cooking. Hair getting in the food, it completely makes sense. When Chef Sophia is cooking, she is hair netted up, or she has on like she has on a baseball cap, like she has on stuff to keep her hair out of her face. I usually wear a wig, and I'm not normally allowed in the kitchen when I wear my wig, so there's that. That's why my hair is short now, and I have a scarf on. But you should be wearing a hairnet. You should have safety precautions. You should have on gloves. Again, you should have all of these things. The second thing I noticed about this is that she didn't touch the rest of her plate. I know me as a catering manager, I'm looking at everybody, especially the bride and groom. If I would have seen the bride get up and her plate was empty, I'm immediately nicely going to the bride and saying, hey, I just wanted to check on you guys. Do you need anything? I noticed you didn't like your food. What's going on? Just let me know. I just want to make sure you're having a great day. And if she would have said, I found hair in my food, I'd have been like, oh my God, I am so sorry. And I would have gone to Chef Sophia and be like, there was hair in her food. And we would have handled it. I even would have talked about, hey, we're going to give you a small little refund on a couple things because we're so sorry there should never be hair in your food, just so that she knows that I am paying attention. And it seems like with Fresh Eats, it's just 3 people. She don't care. She just in there, serving on the line.
Everything looked normal. Everything looked fine. I didn't know that anything was amiss in the room. I didn't find out until later on that things weren't what they should be. My husband had his plate with him. I didn't see him eat much of it. I don't know what he actually consumed off of the plate because, again, the party had already started. We were already drinking.
But the food
we were having a good time. My wedding was a vibe. We had a ball. And so I know him and I weren't really paying much attention to the food like that, but I did notice the food line, and I thought that it was moving appropriate. I thought that it was moving appropriately, so in my mind there was no cause for alarm. Just kept the party going. At one point my planner did pull me to the side, and she was like, hey, let me talk to you in the kitchen for a moment. And so we went in the kitchen, and she's like, I need to tell you something, but you cannot react to it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what's wrong? Because there had been no issues the entire day. Like, everything went off without a hitch the entire day. So I couldn't imagine there was anything wrong at that moment. And she was like, I have to tell you something, but you cannot react. And she's holding my shoulders. You cannot react to it. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, she didn't show up with the amount of food that she was supposed to have. And I was like, what do you mean? We paid her to feed 140 people. And she's like, yeah, she showed up with food for 80 people. She said the first thing she said to me when she walked in the door was, it looks like it's more than 80 people in here. And she said, I told her, it is more than 80 people in here. We paid you to feed 140 people. I only had 118 guests, but me paying you to feed 140 people and you showing up with food to feed 80 people is unacceptable. And the math is not mathing on that. And so I didn't react because my planner told me not to. She was like, don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of it. It's fine. Continue enjoying.
Let's go to the next video real quick. That is crazy to me that you knew that, and she paid for 140 people. She has 118 people. You show up with food for 80 people? How does that even happen? That is not normal. I would never do that. Nobody, no real caterer would ever do that, which makes me feel like it was a little bit of a scam that she pocketed the rest of the money and just cooked what would make her a profit, and that's all she did. So let's go to the next video.
Okay, part two. After my planner told me that I couldn't say anything and I couldn't react, she told me everything would be taken care of. She showed up with food for 80 people instead of food for 140 people. Basically, she showed up with half of what she should have had. Now, let me be clear. I never counted pans. I don't know how many pans she actually showed up with. I only know what the planner said, and I can trust my planner 100%. So if she said she didn't have all of the food that she was supposed to have, she didn't have all of the food that she was supposed to have. I didn't really pay attention to the room and what everybody was eating and whether everybody was eating or not. I just know that I saw the line go through the food line, and I just assumed that everyone had eaten and everyone had gotten something to eat, even though there wasn't enough food bought for everybody. That was the assumption that I made. At the end of the night, I did talk to the caterer. I did thank her. I did tell her that my planner told me that there were a few hiccups and that I was intoxicated, so I would not try to have this conversation with her tonight, but that I would reach out to her in the morning, and try to have that conversation with her once I'm sober, and once, of course, I'm told all of the things that went wrong when I'm sober, because right now I'm drunk and I don't have the mental capacity to process anything. But I did thank her for coming, and I thanked her for serving my food, and that was the end of her service. They eventually left. The party kept going until it was over. Later on that night and then the next morning is when I started realizing exactly how bad the food situation was at the wedding. Apparently, and this is from my guests, this is what my guests were telling me. Apparently, she showed up with an attitude. You were rude to my guests. And above everything, I could have let everything go. I could have let everything slide. You already got the $4,600. That money is spent. It's not coming back to me as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not taking no L's on no money. The money is already gone. So as far as I'm concerned, it was never about getting any money back for me. But once my guests started telling me, and I'm not talking about one or two guests, I'm not talking about 5 or 10 guests, several guests that were there. There were 118 people there. Several guests stated how rude the caterer was to them. You, the caterer, the female caterer, because the gentleman that was with you, who I don't know who he was your helper, and so was the young woman. They specifically said that you were rude to them. You were dismissive to them as they were coming through the line. I remember one of my girlfriends, she's allergic to seafood, so she doesn't eat any seafood. And they...
Before we go to the next part, I'm going to tell you guys a quick thing. Chef Sophia is also rude. Not rude to guests, never, never, never. But she's rude to the team because she is such a perfectionist that she is so just this is wrong. Do it right. Why can't you do it? She's like that. And a lot of times I have to kind of keep her away from the bride or the wedding planner or the event planner, not because well, yeah, because I'm worried that she's gonna like in her curt state of trying to make sure this event goes well for the team and for the bride, that she's gonna say something very blunt. And she's kind of learned we work really well together because if someone comes up to her and tries to stop her to talk to her, she'll say, catering manager right there, go talk to Kia. And they'll come to me and I will have my smile and my glam and my wonderfulness and I'll be ready to handle it. Because again, Chef Sophie and Chef Julius, they are working on making sure every plate goes out perfect. Everything looks clean. The staff is online. Everybody's eaten. Everybody's gotten seconds. Where's the cake dessert lady? So we can help her get her cake down so we can help her get things done. That's what it is. And the second service is over, you would have thought someone gave Chef Sophia, a couple of sips of alcohol because now she's in a great mood. She's laughing. She wants to go talk to the bride and ask about her day. Was her day perfect? Talk to the wedding planner about, future events she wants to work for. There was even one time, this is hilarious. There was one time we had to stop her from getting on the dance floor and doing the electric slide with the guests who were egging her to come on. Like she wasn't being weird or anything. They were egging her to come on to the floor because they saw her kind of getting a groove with us, like, doing a little dance. And we were kind of joking around for a second. And they were like, no, come out here, come on out here. And of course she's like, oh, you don't want me to. You don't want me to. But the rudeness I can understand because you're in a hectic moment, but you should never be rude to guests. It should never be to guests. You're rude to your staff, maybe, fine, whatever. But you should never ever be rude to guests. Let's talk about the next part.
She said when she came through the line, she put one piece of chicken on her plate. And so she asked her, hey, can I have another piece of chicken? And she was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And then the portion sizes, like because you didn't bring enough food, you were skimping on the portions that you were giving people. So you were giving these full-grown adults children-sized plates of food. I had a real plate. Let's be clear. I had a real plate. My husband had a real plate. But because you didn't bring enough food, you were giving these adults these children-sized portions of this food. And again, this is what my guests are telling me the next day. Because the wedding was on Saturday. We didn't leave until Monday. We were all still together in the hotel on Sunday and Monday together. So they were telling me their experiences going through the food line and what they witnessed. You had a bad attitude. You were rude to the guests. They watched you feed the man that you were with and the child that you were with. You didn't bring enough food for my party, but you fed them out of my food.
I'm going to stop on two things. People asking for extra portions is super annoying. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. Especially when they're going through the line the first time. I cannot stand it because we do want to make sure everybody eats. And plus, it's a wedding. You don't want to be greedy. I feel like it's not classy to be greedy. But when I have somebody who comes to the line and says, hey, like, can I have an extra piece of chicken? I'll usually say, hey, you want to make sure you have enough, food on your plate for, the seafood, the mac and cheese. I go to the other options. And if they say to me, oh, I'm allergic to seafood or I'm allergic to fish, then I automatically go, oh my God, absolutely have this extra piece of chicken. And then I'll go tell the other line, like, hey, this person coming down doesn't eat these other things. You can give her extra portions of whatever. We just want to make sure everybody has a full plate. That's normally how it's handled by us and our team. We just know how to do this. Because again, we're a real catering company. Also, everybody at a wedding, though I don't like the greediness sometimes, everybody should have a full plate. It should not be a child's plate. Everybody should have a full plate. And when you order for, I know for Chef Sophia, when she cooks for 140, she actually ends up kind of cooking for 150, just in case people are greedy. It's not a huge additional cost, but we kind of bake that in a little bit just because we want to make sure everybody can have a full portion. You can't skip on portions at a wedding, especially when people are drinking. You want to make sure they're full throughout the night so that, people aren't just drinking on an empty stomach. You want to make sure that they are full. Staff eating. Oh my God. So you should never feed your staff in front of your bride and groom or any event. You don't do that. I have an aunt who comes to the event. She's Chef Sophia's mother. She eats in front of she'll eat off the line, not eat off the line, but she'll make a plate and go sit in the corner. But she's elderly. Like she's really old, and we can't really tell her to stop. But she's the only one who does that. And sometimes when people say something to me about it, I will make a comment and just say, we're so sorry. It's okay. This is why. And they'll usually be understanding. I hate it. It's annoying. But as far as everybody else who works for our team, nobody eats until service is 100% done. And when I mean service is done, I mean that everybody has gone through the line once. People are coming back for seconds. And then nobody is no longer paying attention to the line at all. I mean, nobody. It's usually maybe 20 to 30 minutes after service when no one's looking at the line anymore. Then we take the food all the way back to the kitchen and we start repackaging it. I talk to the event planner, wedding planner, like, hey, we have this amount of extra food. Did you bring the things that I told you to repackage it? Did you want to do it? We can do it for you. You really shouldn't do that. Caterers are not supposed to pack up food to leave. It's like you're just not allowed to in the state of Florida. But we make an exception sometimes when people, and if they say, no, we're good, or no, we don't have anywhere to put it, then the staff will come into the kitchen. They will make their plates and they will go sit in the back on the floor behind the building and they will have their food. It should never be that people are still eating or you didn't have enough food and people can see your staff eating. That's wild. That should never, ever happen. And that should be common sense. Again, another reason why this woman is not a real caterer. She's just somebody cooking in her kitchen and handing out plates. And that's where she should have kept it. Let's keep going. I know this is a long video.
Weird shit. And then it was several complaints about the portion size. Like the portion size, I think, was the biggest complaint that I heard.
Rightfully so.
And as people are telling me this, I'm just so upset. My uncles were there with their wives. My uncles that I don't even get to see that often. My uncles were there with their wives. They left and went to Outback. Once they realized that the portions that were coming off that food line were childlike, they got up and left. They went to Outback Steakhouse and went to the bar and ate at Outback Steakhouse. Do you know how embarrassing it is to have your wedding guests tell you that they left your wedding to go and get them something to eat because the caterer didn't show up with enough food? She didn't show up with the food that you paid for. And I don't know where she pulled the number 80 from. And that is where all of my confusion came in, because you showed up with food for 80 people. We never discussed 80 people. 80 people never came out of my mouth. We were never below 100 people. So I don't know where you got 80 people from. And so that left me with a great deal of confusion. So the wedding was Saturday, Sunday morning, after I hear all of this, and people are, the thing that stuck out me to most was that you were rude to them. I could have let everything slide. I could have let all the money go. I could have not been mad and not had an issue with you making a mistake because we're human. You being rude to my guests is what made me come for a refund. That's what made me come looking for a refund, because you were rude to my guests. How dare you fall short as a professional, as a wedding vendor on my wedding day, and then show up with an attitude and serve my guests' attitude? Like what? And so I reached out to her the next day and I'm like, hey, good morning. I'm ready to have a conversation about the things that transpired yesterday. And it took her all day to respond to me. And when she finally responded, the response was super dismissive. It was super dismissive. I remember reading it like, who the fuck is she talking to? And it wasn't like rude, but it was dismissive. And those are two very distinctive things. It was not rude. I don't know TikTok well enough to put the screenshot up here, but it was not a rude response. It was a dismissive response. It was like, hey, I'm gonna, I'll get with you tomorrow and we can discuss the inconvenience of what happened yesterday, something along the lines of that. And I remember I responded to her and I said inconveniences with an S, and I put the S in parentheses because there was more than one. You showed up late. You didn't have the food that I paid you for. You didn't have the amount of food that I paid you for. The lobster mac and cheese had hair in it. The jumbo shrimp weren't jumbo shrimp. You fed your staff out of the shortage of food that you bought for my event. And then you had a bad attitude. Like, are you okay? So I sent that back to her in a text message, and I was just like, because then her initial response, she was like, I'll get with you about a credit or a refund. I made it very clear, I'm not taking a credit from you. I want my money back. You need to send them coins back for the food that you did not provide. And truth be told, you should have issued a refund for that lobster mac and cheese with that hair in it, because she never acknowledged that. She never acknowledged the lobster mac and cheese with the hair in it, and she never acknowledged the jumbo shrimp that were medium shrimp, that were pre-cooked shrimp, that had that horrible texture. Those two things were never acknowledged. The next day, I did get an email from her, and she just basically tried to gaslight me. She basically was trying to tell me that she spoke to me, she spoke to my husband, she spoke to the planner. Everybody said everything was fine.
No.
She even went so far as to say people who were guests at your party were asking me about my services for their own events. Girl, I don't want to be that guy, but let me tell you something. It was a few bras in that room who would put your business to shame. If my wedding was in DC, there were at least 3 people in that room who would have cooked for my wedding. I would not have needed your services. You got the job because you were in Pennsylvania and you were visible. Not because your food was so great, because turns out the food was ass. All of it. It was ass. Nobody said that to you. I'm 100% sure that nobody said that to her, because 1, we're not from Pennsylvania, and 2, nobody else was having an event up there. Nobody looked at that food, looked at them portions, saw your bad attitude, and was like, yeah, I want to work with her. That absolutely did not happen. So what ended up happening was she ended up sending me back $1,400, which was for 2 of the specials. Remember, the special was 5 pans for $700. She ended up sending me back $1,400. She never acknowledged the lobster mac and cheese with the hair in it, and she never acknowledged the jumbo shrimp that were not jumbo shrimp. So all in all, 0 out of 10. Bad attitude. You fed your staff out of my food when you didn't even bring enough food for my guests. I don't feel like the response was appropriate. I don't feel like she handled it appropriately. The lobster mac and cheese should have been refunded, because 1, it didn't have enough lobster in it, and 2, it had hair in it. And the jumbo shrimp should have been refunded, because that shit was terrible. Like, it wasn't jumbo shrimp; those were baby shrimp at best. So no, I wouldn't use her catering services again. And this is my personal experience. This is not me bashing. This is just my personal experience. Use her if you want to. Don't if you don't. I would definitely not.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there because this video is getting a little bit lengthy, but I kind of wanted to tell you guys some numbers of what the actual refund that I would have given. For the amount of people that she had, it roughly was $32.85 a person, which is standard. The refund that she should have gotten was $2,628. That's just for the food that wasn't provided to her guests. That should have been an automatic refund. I also would have done a percentage off of the actual catering fee, the full service fee. I would have probably given back $500. So for me, she would have ended up walking away with at least $3,000. We probably would have just had to eat the entire thing if she was this unhappy. I would never let a bride get this unhappy. But the fact that she's so dismissive and everything, it means, again, you're not trying to give people beautiful events. You're just trying to pocket the money. She's just trying to be famous on TikTok and on YouTube. Then go do that. Just cook in your kitchen, edit videos, do videos, leave it at that. Don't try to do something as complicated and as important as being the food vendor for a wedding. Because let me tell you something. With me doing this, because even before I was a catering manager for my family, I've been doing weddings with my family's catering company since I was 20 years old. This is not new. It's not new to me. I'm true to this. I've been doing this for a long time. I just became the catering manager. And like, it's a big deal to do a wedding. We take it extremely serious. There's so much that goes into it. There's so much effort. There's so many things. I got so caught up in my joke that I was about to make that I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I like shifted my weight and my mind went blank. But you know, it's a real thing to do. If you want to go cook in your kitchen, like I said, go cook in your kitchen. But a wedding? That's a big deal. That's somebody's big day. That's pictures. That's memories they're never going to be able to get back. And you want to make sure you're on your game. And there's a lot of future clients that are going to be at these types of events. So I am so sorry to this bride and to future brides. If you're watching this video and you live in the St. Petersburg area and you're looking for a vendor, say Sophia Forte's Catering is going to be your absolute best bet for catering. You get to work directly with me. You can go to sophiafortescatering.com, take a look at our menu. And I did not do this as a promo. It's just I get annoyed now after having to experience so many things as a catering manager when I see other people fail so badly at it. and not take it seriously and not really respect it. And then here, I'll give you another real story. I'm just going to shift my weight and not remember, not forget. I remember Thanksgiving last year, we were doing meals and we overbooked ourselves. Like we absolutely overbooked ourselves. My cousin was not prepared. Usually she's super prepared, but Thanksgiving we're doing meals. She was not prepared. And we ended up doing a drop off, and the drop off was so bad. When I woke up, I think 3 days later, I got the message back from the client, and they everything, hated everything with an absolute passion. The email was so long, and when I read it, my heart dropped into my butt. My cousin called me. She was about to cry. We had never, ever, ever gotten a review like this ever. We don't get bad reviews. This was the first ever awful review, and it just killed me. And it killed her too. And I immediately wrote that man back and was like, we would like to fix this. We would like to refund you this portion. We would like to give you a credit for a future event. We were doing it. He never responded to any of the communication. I did 2 follow-ups and he just never responded. But that just, when you get a negative review, it should kill you. You should never, ever want to be just dismissive, like it wasn't my fault. I already talked to y'all. I did this, I did that. Everything else is on y'all. No, that's not how this works. We are providing a service. We're providing a service. Our service, our job is to make you happy on your wedding day, your funeral, because we do funeral repast on your birthday, your mom's 100th. That's what we are supposed to do. So those are my thoughts. I know this is a random video, but I want to definitely get it out and have a conversation about it. So drop them in my comments. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video.